Hello, welcome back to another event from Keep Indiana Learning. We are Keep Indiana Learning digital learning coaches, and today's session is part of a Survivor series for educators. Today's topic is teacher burnout. This time of year is when the burnout gets real for me. It's the post-holiday, still cold, gray days, although today's kind of sunny, that really add to the dreariness for me. On that positive note, my name is Melissa Wally, and I am the EdTech Specialist and Technology Coach from Hanover Community School Corporation. I have been in education for almost 25 years now.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy, and I am the Project Lead the Way launch teacher for grades K through 5 at Tri Elementary. I also serve as a technology integration specialist for South Henry School Corporation. And I love that you said yours in the business. I actually went back to school to be a teacher. So I love saying that I'm only 17, 18 years in, but haven't been teaching the entire time I've been out of school. So I love how our paths bring us back around. I'm going to talk about that more.
Yeah, and my name is Julia. I'm a tech integration specialist for Plainfield Community Schools. And I have been an educator for, I think this is my 13th or 14th year. I probably need to narrow down on that one. But I have served a lot of different ways. I've been a high school teacher. I've been a coach. I've been a middle school teacher. I've been a makerspace director. And now I'm tech integration specialist for our school. So we actually have a lot probably to talk about of burning out from time to time.
Right. I know a lot of years between the three of us. I know for me, I've had my share of burnout over the years, and it's almost hard to say that. But I also know I'm not alone in saying that either. I feel like it's become sort of a hot topic lately, something that's widely talked about, and that helps. Between the three of us, we don't have a magic recipe to fix that for anybody. But what we can do is we can share our top 10 ways that we have found to help survive the very real teacher burnout.
Oh, so real. Definitely have had teacher burnout. Thought times. I think typically whenever I'm about to burn out, that's when I'm Googling what can I do with, a teacher license or an education degree. But before we go into, ways to cope and ways to survive, let's define burnout. So burnout to me is this state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. Like not wanting to get out of bed, hitting snooze. Sometimes that's just winter for me. But other times that's caused by excessive and prolonged stress. So that occurs when you're feeling overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. So let's add that to the definition of teacher.
I love it. And Julia, I think of it like imagine your alarm going off and you can barely get yourself out of bed, or you arrive at work and you just find yourself sitting in the car needing a moment because the idea of walking across the parking lot and hitting that door with your fob is just overwhelming. It's hard to even want to walk in, right?
Yeah. Amy, I have definitely had seasons where I have just sat outside in the car for far too long. And it wasn't because I was checking my email on my phone before I enter the building, although I do that for some reason, even when I'm not feeling burnt out. Anyway, if you are struggling with feeling mentally exhausted, thinking about school, but you really know deep down you love your job, that's confusing. It doesn't make you a bad educator. You are just burnt out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That's
I'm
so
can we
true.
take a moment? Because yes.
Exhaustion, swear I'm a good educator, all the things. So listen, and that's why we're talking about it in February, right? This is the season that does not help anyone. We're close to spring break, but not really. It's still kind of too far of a goalpost, and we are exhausted from holidays. But you know what? Before we even start too, Amy, you were talking about something interesting that the other day whenever I was talking to you. You have a friend that has a quiz about being burned in.
Yes. So, along the ways, how we end up at maybe events with teachers from many different districts, and you just kind of connect with a stranger, and you're like, you're my edu soulmate, right? So that is Amber Harper, to the T. I took a leap and sat in on her session years and years and years ago, at the, Melissa, I think I actually met you here at the GAFE Summit, the Google Apps for Education. Yes.
Mm.
So it's like years ago, we're sitting there and we're talking, and Amber was like on fire. I mean, she was just this first grade teacher ready to rock, and then became certified in the special Google group of innovators, right? Where she needed a project, and she sat there and really put herself through the design process of what is a need that I'm wanting to use this platform to fulfill. And she noticed a lot of teachers around her, not just in her corporation, but just in general, were quickly either leaving or wanting to change grade levels or wanting to do something because they were feeling this heaviness. And so her platform was not the burned out teacher. She lovingly phrased it the burned in teacher. And you can Google her, and when you do, you will find the top 4 things that are listed under her website are a teacher burnout quiz, a podcast, BIT University. She's even got a course that she can lead not only you, but staff through. And then, of course, just an about page. Amber is so incredibly real. And so one of the things that you'll find about her, if you do decide to follow her on social media or take this quiz, is that, you know, she always welcomes your honest and most loving voice, not only for yourself, but for when you're in conversation with others. And so, Julia, did you take that quiz?
Oh, I did. Yes. I am burned and unbalanced, which was not surprised. Like, no part of me was surprised about that at all. I am balancing so many different things. I'm going back to school to get my master's. My husband has a hectic work schedule. My children are in sports. My husband has a robust social life. I am a certified introvert, but I will be an outrovert, or it's not outrovert, extrovert for him. So I do think balance is really, really hard for me. So it was key. And man, when you were talking about, her using the design process, like how cool is that as an educator to, have your heart on something and then to use the tools that you have found to help others. So yeah, I am burned in and unbalanced, Amy. So let's get started with our tips so I can find some balance with my burnout.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, okay, per Amber, knowing your 3 different types, like, are you burned and unbalanced? Are you burned and over it? Or are you burned and bored? Right. And so when I immediately took myself through that quiz, I find myself going back. If I find, like what Julia was just describing, some areas of maybe feeling like you're just treading water, right? So activate safety net now. Know where you're at. Are you needing to support others because those around you suddenly feel that, maybe they say, I identify this, I'm burned out, or maybe they're starting to exhibit signs? Or are you the supportee? Are you needing the love to come your way? So knowing where you are, knowing your role in this whole idea of feeling just burned out, how can you burn in, right? Do you need to support others or do you need to support yourself? So activate your safety net.
So important. And I like how you said, like, sometimes you're the supporter, sometimes you're the supportee, and that kind of comes and goes as things change. But I think, like you said, you have to recognize the signs. You have to recognize, you have to recognize your signs of being overworked.
Yeah.
And what do you do when that happens? Do you shut down? Do you tend to have a shorter fuse or get emotional? Do you use avoidance behavior? Because that's it for me. When I feel like there's way too much on my plate, it's avoidance behavior all the way. and I tend to procrastinate, and then it can get into a cycle where it just feels worse. So whatever it is, being aware of those signs of burnout allows you to really tackle them head on. And I could tell story after story of having way too much on my plate and then deciding to do something that has nothing to do with my giant to-do list. Like, I'll be knee deep in a work project that has a deadline, and then decide to do something totally different that does end up motivating me to get done, by taking a step back and do something unrelated, like rearrange the furniture or clean out a cabinet. And somehow there has to be some kind of psychology there. I don't know what it is, but it works for me. And it's like it's clearing my mind as I'm clearing the furniture, and then I can come back and I really can get down to business. So whatever it is, it works. And I know that about myself, so I don't give myself too much grief when I procrastinate. So just knowing that about yourself and being able to handle it, I think is a key.
The other thing too, Melissa, is a lot of times I'll find myself like, before I tackle this giant project, I'm going to clean all the toilets in the house because I can control that start and finish. But the big project just seems overwhelming. And so, like sometimes it's like, what can I have control over? Or I love that, like clearing the furniture is like clearing the mind. And I found myself even this morning, I've got so many irons in the fire right now, and I'm feeling good. I'm not feeling burned out. I'm like feeling really good about it. But my way of, I think, like giving myself a little boost is to send messages to others. So before 7:00, I had like already sent out like 10 text messages to friends that were like, hey, it's Friday. Have a great weekend. Hugs. And, I got a lot back that were like, how did you know I needed this? Thank you so much. And then I was instantly like, okay, yeah, now it's time to start my day. So I love that you just said that, like recognize your signs, and then how that couples along with our first tip of knowing where are you in this role playing.
I feel so seen right now by both of you. I could have used one of those hugs text messages today for sure. I love that. Like, it is so true. I just said to somebody the other day, I've got so many things to do. They're like, how are you? And I'm like, when you have so many things to do and then you can't do anything because you have all the things, so you can't even, like, I couldn't even do one little thing. And then I found myself literally scrubbing the floorboards that haven't been scrubbed for 16 years, right? So because I have a big paper that's due, but so I love those. So one of the other tips, besides recognizing when you're overworked or burned in, is to be able to give yourself permission to drop some things, honestly, that give yourself permission to take from your own plate. My husband and I had a chat whenever I went back to go get into my master's program a year ago. And we decided that cleaning the house is something that my husband can't take from my plate. Physically, actually, he can definitely physically clean, but he was like, I think that I would also rather pay to put in my portion of the cleaning if you can't do yours. And could we really truly afford it? Not very much. We had to give up a few things. But for me, taking that off my plate of having my house cleaned every 2 weeks while I'm in my master's program, I'm going to have to find a way to convince my husband to keep it when I'm out of my master's program. But it was really nice taking some of the toilet cleaning every 2 weeks off of my plate. So, and then recently, unfortunately, I actually had to turn down a really close friend's birthday party. I didn't want to, but I called her and I was like, I know that I said I was going to go. However, like, I've been gone the past couple weekends. I'm going to, like, if I go, I have to miss one of my son's sports games. And that time is really sacred for me. You are also very sacred for me. So sacred to me. So I'm wondering if next week, when I'm a little less busy, if you and your family can come over and I could cook you dinner and our families could hang out. So that way I, was kind of a win-win situation for me, even though I was letting down my friend, and I was sad to do that I was going to miss out on that time. I also had to be honest and been truthful to myself that was too much of, I had to set a boundary that I felt like I hadn't been there for my own children. We work 10 hours a day, and to be gone on a weekend, especially when I want to watch my son's sports, it was just important to me. And then now I still get to hang out with my friend. I didn't just say no. I made another plan and I still get to see my friend. So I took that from my plate.
Yeah, your trade-off with your friend was a great idea, and I do envy that you have a cleaner. I've thought about that, but I also have that love-hate relationship with the physical act of cleaning. Maybe not in the moment, but it is a good distraction for me, like I said before. It sounds like you also know what works for you, and it's so nice to have that support from your husband.
Mm-hmm.
My next tip, if you are feeling that big burn, is to connect with other teachers. Reach out to colleagues or join a professional organization, participate in online communities. I think online communities can be so helpful. You can connect with other teachers and share your experiences, and maybe, get some tips in return. When I moved to my role of tech integration, I was so lucky to find one person that had a role so similar to mine. And we've just stayed connected over the years. And at the beginning, she was my go-to every time I went to an event or we had a meeting coming up. We were always at the same one. So I always had somebody to sit with. I always had somebody to go to lunch with. And then when we had problems, we problem solved over the phone, and we just helped each other expand our networks. And you know what that's like. Having that support system can really help you feel less isolated, more motivated. And I never would have made it. And just like Amy said, we met, that was a long time ago when we met at that summit. You see the same circle of people, and it's important to connect with those people. I would have never made it in my role over the years without my people. So I think having those connections is really important, not only professionally, but personally.
Mm-hmm. That'll bring me to my next tip. You were going with professional. I'm going to go with boost the quality of social connections in your life, thinking also personal. I am at a point in my life where staying out late and copious amount of alcohol is not in my handbook. It does not serve me. So my social connections, I have to be very sacred with of what my time and how I'm going to spend it. If I spend my time out till midnight, I will not want to be awake and be active and be with my family or be social the next day. So the quality of your social connections count. I recently joined a women's book club. I am not going to lie, listen to me. I did not read the first book, and I thought about not going, but then I contacted the person who was hosting. I was like, listen, I didn't read the book. Can I still come to this one? And this is the only one I'm not going to read the book for, but I'm overwhelmed and I want to be a part of the book club, and I'll read every other book, I swear. And so like, hey, so I show up to book club to a book I didn't even read, but I was also like present over perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
I am actively. So what happened is I found out also, true to myself, that I can no longer read books. I have to do audiobooks. So the February book I'm autoing, and I'm already like 50% in. So at this point, I'm going to be good for February book club. But boosting the social quality of your social connections in life, like we spend so little time apart from work that and I'm going to talk about this later, of like different goalposts and kind of putting off your life. Like I hate it when I hate it and I love it, being a couch potato on the weekend. But what stinks is you give your all sometimes at work, and then when you come home or it's the weekend, like all you can do is recharge. And so find those people like that just want to go to a plant market, a plant store, and look at plants with you. Find the people who like share the same age of kids and want to go to a museum. So then you can feel good. Like you can talk to a female or talk to somebody, and then also have your kids playing and being active. I love going to the Children's Museum in Indianapolis and hanging out in Greece, and my friends and I's kids just bring us a bunch of the food, and we're just sitting back and we're just like talking like, oh yeah, have you seen the price of ham? Like, oh, you've done that with chicken before? Like, just casual conversation, but like literally we're checking off the good mom box. But then I also get that social and it's fantastic. So be intentional with your social time.
I love that. And I'll add a little nugget.
Mm-hmm.
Finding the people in your social circles that are like fierce protectors of their time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because some humans are like really good at it. Like my husband is really good at it. And one of my coworkers is really good at it. And when you're around those people, sometimes you can take two approaches. You can be like, how do you get everything done? And then, have this time to protect your time. But it's just you find your way, right? And so I love that. Well, speaking of audiobooks, and I've got a little something for you to do while you're listening. Move. I mean, I like to move it, right? The Joy of Movement. Let's see, there we are. One of my favorite books. I bought it used, and it is like so loved. It's by Kelly McGonigal. And I will share with you that like this book I refer back to frequently. And what's neat is I've referred back to it during many different chapters of my life. As a kindergarten teacher, and I noticed for full day kindergarten with a class of 26 5-year-olds, that there was a level of stress that 5-year-old bodies didn't know how to handle. So around February, they were like, either tears would come easily, or they missed their mom, or just unexpected things, right? So I included the use of stability balls as opposed to chairs, so they could constantly be moving. Now, some of my instructional assistants said that it made them motion sickness or gave them seasickness when they came into my room. But so I used your book then to find that connection between body and brain and heart and just mindset. Going through health ups and downs throughout my life. I've referred back to this book, not only to put my body in a place where I can physically be prepared to tackle anything that might be coming my way with health. And then in times of stress, in times of feeling, as we described earlier, like burned out, to be burned in, move your body. And I'm not saying like go take a Zumba class and a spin class. I'm saying, put on a coat if it's cold where you are and take a quick walk down the driveway and back up. Maybe you extend that down the street and back. Maybe you go around the block. Maybe you need that nature therapy coupled on top of the movement. But one of our Keep Indiana Learning digital learning coaches, Jen Stewart, and I are working on a Movement is Magic project where we tie back to a lot of Dr. McGonigal's research and just amazing tips, because when you move, you feel better. And when you feel better, you breathe better. And when you breathe better, then you can inhale and exhale whatever comes your way.
That's so interesting. I can't wait to see that collaboration.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, this one sounds so cliche, but I'm serious. Don't let comparison be the thief of joy. Like if you've ever just felt like you're drowning and like everyone around you is just floating around in this bubble of success, and you just are feeling terrible, like you're the only one. Well, guess what? They probably feel just like you do. And you just can't compare yourself to anyone anyway, because obviously we're all at our own path. And I think that this now is even a bigger problem with social media. Like we know social media is wonderful and there are so many positives, but all those perfect posts we see on social media can be helpful, but that's a snapshot of someone's day, someone's classroom, someone's life. All these messages that we're telling to our kids, we need to tell ourselves as well. We can't compare ourselves to others. So I love looking online for tips, but my life is real life, and I have to remember that. So it's just my little words of wisdom that I feel like sometimes we can fall into that trap.
What's so funny? I would like to pretend like I don't fall into that trap, but then, I think I was watching something on Instagram that was about like, comparison being the thief of joy. And I was like, oh, maybe I do. And I found myself like Kristen Cavallari, like, am I comparing myself? Did I just feel bad after looking at hers and seeing her toned body and tan skin? Deleted her, not following anymore. loved her, but I think I like without even realizing it, I started feeling a little bad. And so that's what I've started to do was delete, or I have really like pared down my social media, and especially just because I have young kids. So I think that's a great one, of the comparison being the thief of joy as well. And we all bring our own strengths to the table, right? So my next tip is get lit, read some literature.
Yeah.
Amy already talked about reading a little bit too, but I am really big on, I don't want to call them self-help, but like I love Brene Brown. Anything Brene Brown does, and her audiobooks are great because she is so fantastic to listen to. If you don't even like audiobooks, I made my husband sit down and watch Atlas of the Heart with me. That's on HBO Max. That's Brene Brown. And one of the good things about it is to like today, I can recognize when anxiety is knocking on my door. I recognize when burnout is knocking on my door. Typically, it's like I wake up a little, I start waking up tired, wake up with a headache. I don't want to go to work, and I love work. And I know that, like when I'm being true Julia, I really do. I love coming to work. I love what I do every single day. But I know my telltale signs of burnout, and it's just kind of like you think about, well, it's cold outside, so I'm going to put on my coat. When you start listening to some of these different things, like the Burned In podcast, there's something that's called the Resilient Teacher podcast that I listen to as well. I love Glennon Doyle because she has so many fantastic women on her and people on her podcast that come in. And then, of course, anything Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart is going to be is an audiobook I'm also listening to as well, and then loved it on HBO Max. But those are tools for my toolbox. My emotional one. Like I learned from Glennon Doyle like 2 weeks ago. I was listening to her podcast, and it was like, when anxiety is talking to me, I approach it head on, like, oh, hello, anxiety. And it was like 6:30 in the morning. I was taking a shower, was going over my list, and my stomach was hurting. And I was like feeling dread because I think the problem was I was thinking I wasn't going to get done with my list. Right. And so I was washing my hair, and I realized, I'm like, hello, anxiety. Like, what are you doing here? What are we trying to do here?
Yeah.
What like, I hear you, I see you. I don't really have time for you. So what do I need to do when I get out of the shower? And so then I talked my list into my cell phone and sent it in an email to myself. And I recognized that I was getting sick because of anxiety. And once I gave it a name, it was like it took the power away from it. I also have learned from some of the different podcasting, especially from Brene Brown, the lie that I'm telling myself. Sometimes I think that's why we get burnout, because of imposter syndrome. Sometimes we are trying to do too much, and we think we can. And so I have friends who are my truth tellers that, and when I say it out loud, like the lie that I'm telling myself is I'm not good enough, or, I did this dumb thing, or whatever it is that is on my heart and my mind. And when I speak it out loud, it really takes the power away and takes the anxiety away. So getting lit and finding podcasts and books that add to your toolbox is just key for me. And I know those self-help things aren't for absolutely everybody. My sister-in-law tried to give her a book one time, and she's like, this is going to just go on my coffee, you guys. She's like, I want smut. I don't want to read anything about self-help. I was like, all right, that's fine. But so maybe for you, Brene Brown, Burned In Teacher, and the Resilient Teacher.
That is awesome. And, coming out of, the lockdown and then phasing back in and so forth, these past couple of years, I've seen so many more tools available. Like Athleta, clothing company, they've launched a whole new platform that's called Athleta Well. And, you can just really, truly find anything from like a quick, flow to maybe like an inspiration station, maybe to like interview, all the things. But I love that you've like really helped us sort of think about our own toolbox when sharing yours. And, I was thinking about like when you were saying that about routines and just sticking to those routines, because I realize I'm a yes person. It's not really like a fear of missing out kind of a thing. It's just more like, I love to give. And if somebody has asked me to give a gift, which may be like a way that I think about something, or maybe they like the way that I design things on Canva, or maybe they like the way that I interact with children at the beginning of the day, or maybe, maybe whatever it might be. I love to give that gift, but we know the more we keep giving, we got to refill our own cup too, right? Because we can't pour from those empty cups. And so, knowing that about myself, I just had to schedule in time. And that time might be every Wednesday at 9 a.m. That is my time. That is the time that I use to, maybe it's plan next week's lessons, or if I don't have copies necessarily in my room just because of the nature of my curriculum. But if I did have copies that need to be made on a weekly basis, that would be my time. Just those routines that kind of help you exhale really quick and be like, okay, done, got it. That was my quick tip for that.
I love it. And those little quick wins are really big too, especially when you have bigger things going on too. So I love that quick tip. The final tip that I'm going to share with you today are watch where you quit living for goalposts. And what I mean is, I'll just be happy when. I'll just be happy when I can get to spring break. I'll just be happy when it's summer break. I'll just be happy. I just did this. I'll just be happy when I get to Saturday and I have done my presentation for my master's. I wrote 22 pages and it has been like this week. I was like, what's that weight on my back? Oh, it's the paper. Hello, paper. Hello, anxiety. Hello, paper. Like everything's on my back, right? And so you can't continue like, if I can just get through this. And also, by the way, too, the goalposts change. Like, it's a paper this week for me. Next week, it's going to be something else. It's going to be a big project. It's going to be an observation. It's always my husband's going to be out of town. I have goalposts and I'm going to continue moving them. And then I'm never truly living in the now. And so if we're always pushing off our happiness for other times or for other goalposts, that's going to burn us out pretty quickly. It happens because we're doing work that drains us instead of work that fills our tanks and gives us energy. So we're focusing on that goalpost that we're not there yet. And then once again, like I said, once we get to that goalpost, we're going to move right on to the next one instead of really practicing gratitude. And when you think about being inspired by your day, being motivated in your day, to be present in your day, there's a guy named Bill Wiggert that says, when people feel inspired, motivated, and supported in their work, they do more work that is significantly less stressful on their overall health and well-being. So when we're focusing and we're in the present, we are more healthy because we are more present and in tune with how we're feeling instead of bending over and worrying about that next goalpost.
Oh, you said it well, Julia. Some of that support has to come from others too, our colleagues, our admin, even our families, because we can't do it all ourselves. And it's okay to ask somebody to help you when you need support. It's okay to ask someone else if they need help, if you know they have a lot on their plate. Sometimes, like Amy said, a text of encouragement is enough to make a difference in somebody's day. I received one of those texts last week, and of course it was when I just needed it, and it helped me so much. I also think it's important to remember that we work hard and we carry our work with us because it matters so much to us. We often carry it with us everywhere we go, and it's okay to put it down completely and walk away sometimes. And speaking of that, sometimes it's even acceptable to leave your teacher bag at school. And it feels so good when I leave on Friday and my laptop stays at school. That's like a treat.
That's right.
So that's what I'm doing today.
I love it. Well, I'm going to bring us home by doing something that my principal frequently does. She is a family first individual, and it is very common to hear her get on the PA. She'll give us probably an hour after contract time, and then she'll be like, hello, Titans. It's, and she'll be like, it is now 4:36. Time to go home. I see 5 cars in the parking lot. I love you dearly, but everything will be here on Monday including the children. So she's like, come back tomorrow, and it's just like, and she's not being like, funny with the voice. It's just a very soothing, like, I got you, but I need you to do you, because the next day, we've got all the tiny humans coming in that need all the love. They feed off of us and we feed off of them. And it's such a beautiful world that we live in, right? This world of education. And so, to feel like you were chosen for it, to feel like you show up every day for it, but then knowing that it's okay if you feel maybe overwhelmed, maybe like you just, one more day is just more than you can handle in that world, because activate that net, be the alpha. There it is, Julia.
Be the alpha
of your time. Be the alpha of your time, and move a little, get lit, and just truly enjoy right here, right now. What did Coco Chanel say? Don't be like the rest of them, darling. So like, that imposter syndrome, and so forth. So thank you for this. This is truly a gift that I've received from you guys, and that we hope, as all of us, to give to our listeners, our viewers.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that too, Amy. I do feel like I was chosen for education. And it's wild how you can simultaneously hold that in your heart, but then also sometimes find your cup empty and pouring from an empty cup. So that is the most important thing, is taking care of ourselves so we can take care of others, right? Yeah. So I think we'll end here and remind you that you can always go back and see, we did a Survivor in October on surviving spooky parents. In December, we did surviving observations. In January, it was surviving New Year with new perspective. Upcoming in March, we'll do surviving post-spring break discipline. That'll be interesting in both the middle school and elementary school perspectives that you two bring. And then in April, we're going to talk about how to navigate summer professional development or a conference. So we'll kind of talk about the different conferences that are going to be out there this summer, and then also kind of like picking and choosing. And then I think it would be really cool, thinking out loud, of talking about social connections and kind of getting out of your comfort zone, maybe even, and talking to somebody else at a conference, because it sounds like you ladies met at a conference, right?
Yes.
So you could have you could have that, guys. You could have that.
Please make a note of it. I love it. I love it. Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm currently going to find my teaching philosophy, because I think that might be a really fun Survivor series too. How it started and how it's going.
Yes, that's awesome.
Be on the lookout for all these upcoming sessions. You don't want to miss out on the great time that our Keep Indiana Learning coaches have together, and that we are so grateful to be able to provide for you. So if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. We wish you a wonderful afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.